This episode is brought to you by the RVA Podcast Network. Find more information at rvapodcast.org.
We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such. Welcome to season 6 of The Pass, BT. Didn't think we'd get here, but here we are. Show going a bit of a different direction, as you may have noticed near the end of season 5. Sports is still a thing, but not as much. You'll get more information about what's going on in the tech world, what's going on in the music world. We actually have kind of gotten rid of Ass of the Week. Once in a while, you may get one here and there, but I still want to stick with the main gist of passing the message to you all. So take your time, but don't waste your time as you sit and enjoy a new season of The Pass with your host, BT. Wow. How does this work again? Mic check. What up? What's good? How's everyone doing? I'm usually pretty aware of how to do podcasts, but if you have not been keeping up, I have not recorded a show in over a month. And my, oh my, how life has changed. This is one of the first times in a while that I actually have like a list of topics or list of things that I want to discuss to kind of explain where I've been, what's been going on, what to expect. I have a few topics that I'm going to talk about, but they're not anything that's like pivotal per se. And the only reason I'm using that term loosely is because, yes, these things have happened and they are important in their own way, shape, and form. But I'm not giving them a massive amount of energy or a massive amount of weight. And when I get to them, you'll understand what I mean. So welcome back. If this is your first episode listening in, welcome to The Pass BT. I haven't even introduced the daggone name of the show. That's how long it's been. But it is The Pass BT. We have been known to be about sports and stuff. Lately, it's been very stuff heavy. It's been tech oriented. So it's almost I almost could get away with, if I did a rename or a rebrand, it would literally could be called The Pass. So podcasts about stuff in tech or stuff in things. But I've just not really, I don't want to mess with anything. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Plus having to do rebranding of everything else is just not even that deep. So welcome. Like I said, if it's your first time, welcome. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, all of your major podcast platforms, Amazon, Pandora. If you have been keeping up with the journey, I've been getting quite a fair share of downloads or a fair share of listens from one specific episode that has really kept the podcast ball rolling. So I'm very, very, very thankful for that by far. And it's a matter of just where we plan or where we intend to go next. So like I said, the initial question, or even as the title says, where has BT or where has Brian been? Brian has been in social media / platform incognito mode. And for many of you who may or may not understand what that means, to break it down in a more technical but non-technical term, a lot of people use different browsers, whether it's Internet Explorer. If you use an Internet Explorer, I have questions. But they may use Edge, they might use Chrome, Safari, Firefox. All four of them have their main browser, and then they have what's known as a private browser or an incognito browser. So the incognito browser, you can browse as normal, but your information that you save or any activities that occur aren't visible. And a lot of people don't know about incognito browsing on their phones or on their computers, work computers for that matter. But that's what I'm learning or becoming more aware of doing, is educating more people. And that, like, to be fair, my break has really been about doing a lot of education with technology and with life. We're all growing, we're all improving, we're all trying to become better people every day. And I will say without a shadow of a doubt that taking the break that I have has been a blessing in disguise. And the reason I say that, or the reason that I'm able to say that, is because I know for a fact that I needed this to occur in order for me to do what it was that I was trying to do. April was a very powerful month. I was in the home stretch of a business program that I will get into in a moment. And I was also waiting for some huge news, which I'll also get into in a moment, because everything just kind of all pieced itself together. And I can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt that life, like the one message, if this doesn't come up as a passive message at the end, I'm sharing this now. Everything really happens for a reason, and we don't understand why until it all happens and it all starts to, quote unquote, unravel, make sense, kind of tell its own story. Because a lot of times life tells the story when we don't want the story to be told. And a lot of times that can scare the living daylights out of us. And I think for me, that has really been like the timeline that's been painted or written. I don't even want to say painted. It's been written. Like, I've really written all of this out as far as like the work and the effort. So I've been quiet, and I've been able to kind of observe. Like, the most interactions I've done is I've looked at, like, for the month of April, I did view TikTok. I did like videos on TikTok. There were a couple videos or a couple people who I followed that I did generate some conversation via TikTok. And I also did some interactions on LinkedIn. But as far as a newsletter, as far as the podcast, as far as any social media posts, Instagram posts, things of that sort, none of it was posted or shared. And personally, I'm okay with that. I didn't realize that I was doing this in like, my next question I put up, or I stated, was, why did I detox in April? And I didn't think about this or know about it until somebody brought it to my attention. I'm not a big religious person per se, but there are some things that when it happens, it's like, okay, it makes sense. And for this particular thing, I decided this is what I was going to fast. And I've talked about it before, where I was like, oh, I'm going to fast. I'm going to take a break from social media. And I don't. In this case, it's known as Ramadan. And the light or simple version of it, you stop a thing for a period of time. And I really didn't, like I said, I didn't interact much with anything. Like, even my sports group, there were so many times that they would have like arguments or discussions. And I was just like, I can't even comment on this. At most, I would send messages to them individually, or in, like, we had a group message for our admins, and I talked to them about different stuff. But other than that, I really wasn't as interactive behind it. But I did also, like I said, I took a break for my business class, which was in the home stretch. It was a business program, business class, however you want to term it. It's called RVA Works, or it's part of RVA Works, and it's called Open Trellis. Great program. I'm not going to give too much information because there are some I won't say inadvertent, direct yet fair NDAs or agreements that I agreed to. So I'm not giving any information on my platform regarding this, because I still want to keep my podcast going at the end of the day. And also, I mentioned this earlier, but there was a promotion or an upgrade in my current role. Any of you who have been following the journey or have been keeping up, I've been part-time. I've been a contractor with my temp agency, through a temp agency, for about for about 5 or 6 months. And I got news that I was being promoted to become permanent with this company. And now that I am here and everything's full circle, I can share and I can announce that I am now a full-time employee with Markel Insurance. And it is one of the greatest feelings ever. So I'm excited about that. So an important topic too, I came back at a perfect point because I realized that I was like, May 1st will be my day one. And I kind of came back like a couple days later or a couple days earlier because I had announced some stuff online, which, hey, it happens, but no big deal. And so in doing that, I was, to be clear, I had plans on doing, last week was going to be like the official I'm Back podcast, but I was so engulfed with just getting started with the new role or with being permanent that I was like, I'm not going to be fully invested in doing the podcast if I do it. So I pushed it back and here we are. But I say that to say that, and this conversation comes up a lot. Mental health has become a very trendy buzzword, but a lot of people don't take their mental health seriously who really have issues with their mental health. What I mean by that is there are people sometimes who are functioning just fine, getting through everything, working through everything, living, being available, focused, present, etc., etc. But they're not available where it matters most to themselves. I've kind of talked about this with a friend of mine, but I'm looking to have this become an actual podcast in its own. Sometimes we make so much of a concern about the problem being other people when we don't realize that we're the problem. And what I mean by that is we look at everyone else and say it's their fault instead of us taking time to see what are we doing wrong or what are we not doing to better ourselves for whatever it is we're trying to work on or overcome. And I've spent more time learning how important or how valuable that is in the last couple of weeks. And like the time away, like I said, if you recall when we last did a podcast, when I last did a podcast, I was in Virginia Beach, and that trip away was able to be one of the most amazing resets I've had. What makes life interesting and what makes timing so impeccable is I took that time away. And when I took that time away, I didn't realize that that would be the last time I would be recording a show as a temp. So I had gotten that, I think that was on like the 26th, but I know I came back in town on like that following Monday. And when I came back, it was like I had work, I worked Tuesday, Wednesday I'm in the office, I have a face-to-face meeting with my manager, confirm the news that I was being promoted or getting ready to convert. Super elated. And it was, just working through the process of waiting for my background to clear, which thankfully that did. I had some alarms. If you've been following my show, you understand the story with that. I'm not gonna delve too deep into that, but I will say, like, I'm thankful for where life has placed me. But then I did find out some other interesting news. Now, I'm not going to put, to be fair, like I'm giving context, but a lot of this I'm not going to give as public context on my podcast because one thing with me, since I've taken a break, I'm really making it my goal to maintain and uphold my brand and uphold my platform. I'm not going to sell this show short, and I'm not going to deliver or produce trash. I refuse. Like, I can't do it anymore. I've done it for quite a while. I'm not going to say every episode has been like that, but there have been some episodes that I could have gave a much better effort and I didn't. It's not me playing the role of I'm beating myself up or I'm being hard on myself. I'm just being very aware and very transparent. A lot of light shining was introduced to me. I know I'm kind of rotating back to where is Brian been, but I was able to do a lot of self assessment, self reflections, a lot of understanding of why some things did not make sense to me, but I also understood why they were the way they were. I talked to a friend of mine today. We had like a very open convo, and it's valued when you know someone misses like conversing with you and just having like authentic conversation. So I was able to like really talk that through and really get the ball rolling on like what I wanted to do, as well as, giving her a good understanding of what she was trying to do. Because sometimes we really don't know we know we're working on something and we want to do something, but we don't have like a true idea of what that thing is and how to go about getting to it. Side note, before I go any further, it's fun. I haven't recorded in quite a while, and it's like something as small as like recording with my microphone, which, never mind. We might be able to figure out. Hold on. Y'all might catch a louder version real quick. Hold on. Okay. No, all right, never mind. So I think I knew it. All right, so I had it right. So I haven't recorded in quite a while, and it's like when you look at certain things, or some simple things such as like your audio, I call them audio levels. Like on my Adobe Audition program, I can see my audio levels, but I also can see it on my microphone. Like they're kind of one and the same in how it's visually seen. But on my microphone, it's like I'm literally what I like to call, and you'll hear this term in podcasts, and I've talked to people about this before. There is a such thing called the sweet spot. Some people have very loud voices. I'm one of them, and I'm learning lately to not set. Normally, I would have what's called the microphone gain, or the level of how loud my microphone sounds, very high. But I've realized because of my voice, I don't need to be that. I don't have to put that kind of effort into that. And in doing so, it's helping my audio not sound like chaotic. So little things like that make such a big difference. And I know to y'all probably like, I don't understand nothing he's talking about. But if you were to ever sit with me and do a podcast, you'll see a lot clearer what I'm referring to make sense of it. But yeah, April just really like made me just sit and like not be as stressed about stuff. A lot of people didn't understand how to deal with that because I wasn't as like intense as I normally would be. I was just like chilling, and my reactions to things were very uneventful because I started to channel into Brian. Like prime example. The month of April, I was able to read a book called Laser Focus. And I've shared this before. If you're reading or following my newsletter, by all means, check that out. Or if you're not following it, check that out. I did talk about this in the newsletter. And basically, Laser Focus explains to you ways to just kind of reconnect and like focus on what the things are you're trying to get done. Like one example, a couple of tips that they gave were frequent breaks, time blocking, which I'm really working harder on, create islands of focus, the physical side of focus, have a why, focus on the process, not the outcome, the 3 steps to laser-like focus, which are clear distractions, simplify, and prioritize, and then there are techniques to extraordinary focus, maximize your mornings, determining your one thing, I'm gonna talk about this for a second because I've talked to people and I've had this conversation with many of my friends and they hate it, but it's a love-hate thing and I'm okay with it. The one thing means it's a term that people will use, and there's a book even written about it, which I'm inclined to buy, but right now I'm not pressed. And it's basically the reference that they use is a video that I found that explained this was Eat the Frog. Yes, no one's wanting to humanly eat an actual amphibious frog that has legs and can jump and rivet and all that. No, that's not what people want to do. It's the worst thing you want to do. But in life, the things that we know we have to do first, we need to eat that frog. Talked with someone literally right before I did the podcast and was explaining to them about like, you have this frog that you are trying your hardest not to eat, and you need to eat it because once you finish this thing, it will lead to greater things. I had to eat the frog in my process of working to get to where I'm at with what I'm doing now. I want more. I'm definitely hungry and going for more, but I'm thankful that I took that time to work through what I worked through to get to where I'm at now. Work in full screen mode, put your phone in a different room, manage your energy, not time. Don't check email before midday. The email part for a lot of people is tough, especially when they run businesses or people who work for businesses where their strong emphasis is always have your email open and available and ready to receive whatever. And it's like sometimes you need to not have, unless it's pertinent or time sensitive emails, that's a different scenario. But in the realistic case with most people, some people just check their email just because they can check it. And it's so bad because applications don't make the process any easier because they'll literally have you where you're opening your emails on the fly 24/7 and there's no benefit to that whatsoever. If y'all heard that sound effect, my bad. I forget whether you can hear it or not because I don't know. I'm not sure my audio set up for the Yeti, but it's another conversation. But yeah, long story less long, like reading the book Laser Focus was a great read and a quick read. The book that I'm currently reading and that I've been pressed to really read because it's such a good book and has such good content is Atomic Habits, because it's me knowing that I have things that I need to work on or want to work on, and I'm gonna get them done. But I have to get a routine in place to know that I'm working to get those accomplished. And if I don't, it's downhill. It really is downhill. And I don't, that's the last thing I'm looking for. Feel funny because like everything that I'm looking at, I've talked about most of this already. So I'll take my hits with that one. But Fab Five check-in. So a friend of mine who we have, Anisha, is been like my sister from another mister, but like she's been fam really, like she's really been fam that's kept it 100 grand like the whole way. And a lot of people have kept it real with me, but she's one of those ones that's truly been like solid and true in how she's approached me about stuff. And I can't like give some finagled, made up, pretty amazing response. She'll be like, look, what's up? How you feeling? Where you at with everything? And so I've talked about it a few times. Even though I don't listen to their podcast, I Am Athlete, Brandon Marshall started what was known as, it was mainly three things: mental, personal, and professional. Like, where are you at with those three things? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being you just ain't feeling it, it is horrible, and I don't want to be bothered with it, to 10 being amazing and full of energy and life. So this evolved, and a friend of mine added in a fourth one for creativity because we're both creators, and that has been like really getting me to learn, like, am I being as creative as I should be? Am I putting what skills I have to the test? Am I making sure that my talents are being made known by others? Like, these are real authentic questions I have had to ask myself. And they've hurt. They've hit pretty hard, but they were well versed and well prepared to get me an understanding of what I need to do and how to go about being a better person. So then we added a fifth one. And the fifth one was going back to something I haven't done in a while, but it reintroduced something that more people don't like to do. And I might get a little loud for a sec because I'm sitting up to talk about this near the microphone. People do not like their feelings. And when I say people do not like their feelings, they do not want to acknowledge, express, or give their feelings the attention they deserve. Meaning, if you're in a happy place, and I'll say it this way: the positives we will give all the attention to, but the negatives we try to just mask, we try to cover up, we try to fool ourselves into everything being fine when it's not, and we internally and mentally pay for it in the end. Case in point, even with, excuse me, wow, that was Dolby. Hopefully I can clean that up. We have been, why am I saying we? When I received the news that I had gotten a job and I saw the email confirming it, I tried so hard to ignore my feelings. And when I say ignore my feelings, I mean tears of joy. Like I still feel it now. Like I still have like a very high level of excitement about knowing that I've accomplished what I would consider a very big goal. Because this goal could have went all the way to the end of the year. Thankfully, it didn't. Patience and perseverance got me to that point. It really made me understand how important it was. But what I'm saying is, some of those feelings or some of those days when you're just not feeling good, it's like, okay, what feeling am I really in? What space am I in? Where am I at with myself? What can I do to get better? And acknowledging how to improve myself. And then all of these became the Fab Five. So it would be your 4 numbers and whatever your feeling was. And like I said, if you look it up on Google, there's a feelings wheel. I'll mark the episode to share the link that I always share, because I personally believe that Calm has like the best feelings wheel that I've found. Like it's a rendition of the original one, but I like the design, the color, because it kind of gives you all your different aspects of like if you're good, if you're not good, if you're just frustrated, you're annoyed, you're angry, you're upset. And I know I'm pointing out more the negatives because there are so many different words to reference, like adverbs or verbs or whatever, to point out how you feel. And I like that. And I'm probably using, okay, let's be clear. I love writing, but subject, predicate, pronoun, adjectives, adverbs, verbs, all of it. Don't know it. Teachers, if you hear the podcast and you correct me, I'm okay with it. I'm not going to be mad. But yeah, the Fab Five check-in has been dope. I'm getting more people on board with doing it and trying it. And I'm not sitting here saying it's going to be easy. I'm just saying give it a try. You might actually get to learn more about yourself or learn more about the people around you. I used to do a mood board. Mood boards are it's like hit or miss, especially if people don't take it serious. But with the feelings wheel, you can't ignore it. Like you have to pick a feeling. Some people, there was one time when I was doing it where you could pick like 2 words. If it was different types of feelings, it could be same dynamic, different quadrants, didn't matter. But just making people kind of be invested and accountable for it. So definitely try that out if you have not done so already. Talked about this earlier. Tasking and planning has been like one of my biggest priorities and one of my biggest deals the last few weeks. I'll be 100% honest with you. My digital planning has fluctuated. Some days I'm in the bag, I get in the zone and knock it out. Other days I don't feel like touching that tablet to save my soul. But the interesting part is, as inconsistent as it may or may not sound, the tablet has always been like I've been keeping a better tab on keeping it charged. Like I think right now it's probably in like the 40s. I don't have it physically in front of me, but I do know like I've been keeping better tabs on making sure that if I know it's like down to 20 or 10%, because with the iPad, and this is something that I love, iPads have a longer battery life. We know that already. However, what we fail to realize is even with iPads having a longer battery life, the battery power save and the features of how it's converted with that is a little different. With iPhones, I'd say mostly with iPhones, when it's under 20% or getting ready to hit 20%, it'll go into what's called low battery mode or low power mode. So it's not using as many resources as heavy. Some people keep their phone in low power mode all the time, which I think it's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I haven't seen anything that said like it's an issue. iPads low power mode hits at 10% or low battery. Well, yeah, low power mode. And it's very safe, very helpful, very efficient. So, with all that being said, like I've been working a lot harder on planning more. Still using my digital planner. That's been taskful. Now I'm having to remind myself and remember how important it is to how can I say this? There is a split in my life that I'm still having to work through. And I learned this the hard way during my break, but I was starting to learn this when I started working from home a little bit. When you work a job and you have to, deal with life outside of work as well as life at work, there's a buffer that gets ignored 10 times out of 10. Because sometimes we don't take that time to not necessarily like flip the switch and cut everything off and shut it down, but kind of take a hard reset and like, okay, figure out what I'm going to do today or what do I need to get done today. Like sometimes for me, it's usually I get a plan of everything I want to work on in the morning. Great, cool, awesome. And then when the evening time comes, I'm like, okay, I got all my stuff done. Like by the evening, I've already went to work. I know what work is going to look like. Work is going to work. Cool. But then after work, it's like a mush. It's a blurb. And I don't like it. Like I really don't like it at all. So I'm working harder on changing that for the better. And it's hard. It is not, and I'm not like, it's not me saying it in an emotional, like it's hard, like, oh, it's hard. It's so tough. It's just, it's hard because it's something I haven't had to do before. So I'm still adjusting to that. I'm not going to even like make up a story saying otherwise. Investing time in business. I've learned that you have to treat a business as a business, not as a hobby. I probably said this on the podcast, but I really got a full featured look at that while I was in my social media or just breakdown of doing different things. I connected with some other alumni from the program, and I met one young lady who I'm really looking forward to networking with very soon because I want to. It's so interesting because I usually any other time I wouldn't be open to it, but now with the type of mindset that I have and with the type of understanding of how pivotal it is, I'm all about sharing my story now. Like I want to let people know, like, hey, if you're trying to do this, this is what you need to do. This is what might have to change. Some changes are gonna be done to get you to a better position. Like when I finished the program. Literally, I remember that following day, I put up a post or I put up a image, and the image said, "Don't go outside." And a lot of people probably looked at it and was like, "What do you mean, don't go outside? Like, I gotta go outside if I need to, like, go to work or go to the grocery store or get whatever." But don't go outside is a reference of if you don't have to do all that turning up and going hard and having fun, don't do it. Like, wait. Don't feel like you are obligated to have a good time. Now, does that mean take out self dates? Absolutely not. If you need a self date and you need to unplug, by all means unplug. Unplugging is one of the most underrated things that we as people don't do. And when I say we as people, I'm talking about black men. I'm sorry. I'm on that type of time today. I want to make that clear to people. There's nothing, and I can't speak for women. I'm horrible at doing that because I don't want that to be a controversy. But black women sometimes don't do well with self-care. Like self-care, now maintenance, whole different ballgame. I know that when it comes to going out and looking tight and looking flat to the nines, can't stop them. I will call that what it is on the outside. But hey, have you checked in with yourself? Hey, did you eat? Hey, how you feel? Hey, what anyone made you smile today? Nothing. Different conversation. But yeah, the business program, huge help, huge connection by far. I talked about it already, going full time with, I put it full time with Benny, which basically is like benefits, PTO, all that stuff. So I'm excited about that. Very knowledgeable in knowing that that's going to put me in a better position and a brighter position for more. And I personally, and this is going to sound crazy, but I'm going to say it because I want to. I'm not pressed about trying to make a whole hit of money personally. Now, let me make sure I say this right. I do want to get to that bag. I do want to get paid, but I'm not trying to get paid in the incentive of the press of like, I got to be making this much so I can have these things. Like, somebody broke this down and this hit me like a ton of bricks. Just because you see someone and they tell you that their salary is $500,000 does not mean that they have to dress in a suit and tie and have a nice car that they drive. If you look at most CEOs and most folks that really are like managing and investing money, they don't show you that I'm dressed in this fly style. Most people just kind of lay low and chill. We Black people, we want to show it off and flaunt it. And it's like, everybody don't need to see what you're doing. Some stuff can be seen behind the scenes. Like, that's something I'm really learning to be more appropriate with. Like, right now, like, I know I'm gonna get some nice, not newer, but some nicer clothes now that I can like be able to get it. But I want to make sure, like, I'm not trying to go out here and go hard in the paint. Like, I gotta buy I gotta buy J's and I gotta buy stuff that I'm just it's not gonna be a beneficial investment when I'm no longer here. So I think about those things. Desk upgrades. So when I was previously recording, I had one desk. I had one desk that kind of worked as a multi-personal and work desk, which was great, which was cool, which was awesome, which I loved it. I enjoyed it to a T. When I was presented with the opportunity, when I realized it and I was like, I'm about to make some changes to my main desk, I need to upgrade and do a few things. I did a few things. One of those few things was I got a new desk. I just got a whole separate desk altogether. And personally, I will say having a second desk is a blessing in disguise. I freaking love my second desk. The funny thing is, the second desk I was hoping would be for my personal, and that my main desk would stick to being my work or my remote computer. But it reversed. And at first I was mad about it, but then in hindsight, I'm like, it worked out because I have everything set up the way I need to. So I'm kind of I'm kind of in the space and in the mood of, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like, I'm not stressing it. The only way that I would revert it to what I really want it to be is I would literally have to revamp everything in what I have and setting it all up. And right now, I'm just not that pressed. Like, the thing that I want on the new desk, I can't put, which is basically, if any of my techies who are listening to the show, if you've heard of the VESA stands, there are different stands that you can get that will hold your monitor, but it sits it on like a arm where you can pretty much move the arm left and right, forward, back. It's almost like taking a monitor for a computer and giving it wall mount capabilities, but instead it's like desk mount capabilities, which I just, before I use it, I didn't think much of it. Funny story, but just how it all went. I have a 15-inch portable monitor that I use, and I love the monitor to death. Like, I use it for a vast majority of the time I was in Virginia Beach. the reason I like that monitor the most that I don't talk about enough is I literally can use it as for if I want to play console games, if I want to play retro games, as long as it has an HDMI port on it, which is just the cheat code of all cheat codes. The bigger picture of why I'm talking about this is because when I first got the mount to move a screen, I put my 15, I put that same monitor on that stand. And I'm sitting there looking at it and I was like, I can actually work with this. This is not that bad. But it's like when I went from a 15-inch monitor of that sort to a 29-inch widescreen, bruh, I did not know that. I didn't realize that there would be such a big difference. Like right now, and I think it's because my eyes are still adjusting a little bit. I'm now getting used to, I'm using my Mac today at the library, but having my Mac now because of my setup, my Mac is idle, so I have it off to the side and I let my monitor do what it's going to do. So basically, my monitor is set up to run the show, and my thought is gone, but it'll come back. The monitor is set to run the show, and all I have in front of it is my keyboard and my mouse. And I'm actually low-key excited. I got a new mouse that I'm using. Oh, by the way, this is like a desk upgrade, work related, but also a desk upgrade tip for all of my folks that use computers. You're gonna think it's weird, and you may not like it or be a fan of it when you first use it. But please, I am begging you, try the ergonomic mouse where instead of your hand sitting directly on the mouse, the mouse is set so that it forces your hand to turn sideways. Now, before anyone comes for me, because I know y'all about to ask, because I got a couple of folks who are, and I should be one of them, but another topic for another day. What about left-handed people? Well, it's funny you ask. There are mice that are made, computer mice that are made for left-handed people. And it functions just the same. Instead of the mouse turned to its right, it's turned to its left. And then all your features would be set just like you would if you were a lefty. I always love telling this story because I was where I'm working now. Now that I'm working there, I can tell more stories, but not tell too much personal story. I talked with someone who needed help with working on their computer. I said, sure, let me, take a look. Did a remote, I said, hey, I'm going to remote in. We're going to look at your computer and see what's going on. Now, she told me before I got into it, she said, my computer is set to be left-handed. I said, okay. My okay was I acknowledged and heard what you said. My okay was not confirmation of understanding that she really meant that it was left-handed. So when I went to move it, the mouse moved okay. But it was the first click. I clicked on something and I was like, why is it right? Oh, that's right. She just said it's left-handed. So I had to literally take the mouse, move it over to the left side. And then after I used it, I was like, okay, it's not that big of an adjustment. It's just, you have to think in reverse. Like anyone that owns a Mac knows what I'm about to say with thinking in reverse. And it actually makes sense because I probably have talked about this before, but it's relevant to where I'm going. When you use your phone and you swipe, if you're scrolling through like a web page, you're swiping up to make the page go down. Like if you're reading text messages that someone sent you, you're swiping down to go back to read the previous messages. So the scroll wheel on Macs are in reverse. And at first I never really understood or made sense of why, but then when I look at the iPhone usage, and I know they're like separate dances, but in looking at how that design is created, that's what makes them kind of run in the same format. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, take your phone, go to your messages. And I think, Droid, you could do this as well. I might be wrong. Go through and look at your previous messages and see which way you swipe to go back to look at previous messages. Now do that same type of swiping but think of it on a Mac. And if you have a Windows computer and can do it, reverse the scrolling. You'd be surprised. All right, quick story time. It's funny that I'm sitting here as I'm talking to y'all about all this, and my stomach has been like going to town. But I'm okay, I promise y'all. I just want y'all to know that. I know that's probably TMI, but it is what it is. Newsletter's been good. I've written 2 newsletters since coming back. It's good to get back to writing again and get that routine going. And I've definitely put more effort behind that creative side of my routine or my style, because I love being able to just sit down, crack open the tablet or crack open the laptop and say, all right, what's our newsletter? What are we going to write about this week? And most times I usually come up with that article or topic like a few days before. I hate writing a newsletter on the day of. It is the worst thing in the world, because you literally would just write or say anything. But yeah, desk upgrades. The desk has been like, I love the new desk. Like I enjoy sitting there, because and then it's also an L shape. How I have it designed, I kind of have it like a semi L shape because I haven't like the space that I have. So that's that. Before I get to future expectations, I'm going to talk about these 3 individuals. I'm not going to give a lot of time or energy to it because the internet has done its job. I've done a great job talking about people that do not have anything to do or impact your life. And I'm saying that, but I'm about to talk about them on my platform. So here we go. One, first and foremost, I offer my sincerest condolences and well wishes to this family of Kevin Samuels. The news, there was uncertainty of confirmation as to whether he had passed. A lot of people had stated that he had passed, but then there wasn't anything that really showed. Like the mainstream stations or mainstream storylines weren't selling it yet. And also, which was beginning to make sense in the end, or not in the end, but once everyone talked about it, it was a matter of his mom eventually confirming and sharing that news before all the outlets, media outlets, were sharing that story. In all my years of living, he's one of the first people that I've heard more people say they wished death upon and did not, or even worse, didn't feel bad about him passing. You can like what he said, you can hate what he said, you can have your feelings about it. But regardless of how you feel about him as a person on what he said, wishing death upon someone or saying like they got what they had coming, it's like, come on, y'all. Like, it's no way. It's no way we're to that point. Like, there's really no way. And the part that's mind blowing, and I've shared this with people before in this, once this all happened, is his platform went big for him just talking to women and giving his opinion on like what they were doing or how they were doing things. They didn't like what he said. His delivery was atrocious. Call a spade a spade. But he was being honest. But the kicker of it is that wasn't how his show or how his stuff started. He was talking to men first. But you don't see those, you don't hear about those very often. It's neither here nor there, but it is important to bring up or address in the midst of this. A lot of people, and I'm not, like I said, I'm not giving a lot. That's mainly all I have on that. Like I said, everyone, all I'm gonna say on that part is anyone wishing or talking of someone and saying, wishing death upon them, you are weird. Period. End of discussion. You have your right to do what you do. That's not where I'm at about it. But where I am at about it is, it's stupid to take yourself through so much over someone that you were possibly never going to see in person at all. That's the part for me that sticks out. So that's what I have on that. Will, Chris, Jada, there was a lot of, you saw a lot of hurt in Will's face with everything that's happened. And I'm not supporting what he did. I'm not supporting Chris' joke. And a lot of my whole thing with that entire incident, because a lot of people talked to me about it, and it was like, Brian, how do you feel about it? What's your thoughts on it? Interesting factor. The night that I recorded the podcast, the incident happened the following night. And I wasn't going to be back doing podcasts. I wasn't going to do anything to talk about it until I came back from my social media hiatus. All I'm going to say is one word. Many of my friends hear me say this word a lot, and it applies to this perfectly. Perspective. Having or gaining or fulfilling a perspective on this is very important in the discussion. Think of it from all possible perspectives. Don't just look at it on what you saw, what you think you saw, what could have been, or what might have been. Look at it all and just piece it all together. And also take time to acknowledge and visualize the context in their relationship or lack thereof. And when I say their relationship, I'm referring to Will and Chris. You could say Will and Jada. I won't be mad, but I don't have that much of an investment in their criteria or their process, at least currently. So that's all I got on that part. What are we going to expect? What does the future of this podcast look like? That's a good question. And I know no one asked that, but I'm presenting this as a topic because as many of you who have been on the journey with this podcast, or many of you who have listened to the podcast, have been here when I've talked sports to the core. Like I lived talking sports. I love talking sports. I don't talk as much about tech as I used. And when I say, let me rephrase that. My tech talk is a little different because now it's more geared towards giving technical tips on how to be better with computers. A perfect example of this, and I'm sharing this today. Matter of fact, this is my message I'm going to pass along because I shared this as a TikTok video. A lot of people didn't understand it, but I'm going to clarify it a little bit clear as to what I mean. Because of COVID, more QR codes are becoming the way to get information for people. If it's like you're trying to get a business or you're trying to find something to, like if you go in a restaurant, they'll tell you we don't have actual menus, we have the QR code. Cool. Now, the problem becomes in restaurants or in public facilities, I have no problem with this. But when you're somewhere, say out on the street, or it may be a sign that tells you some information about like buying a home and it might have a QR code, be very careful of those QR codes. Those QR codes might be legitimate, but they could also lead to a link that could send you somewhere to possibly scam or hack your phone. You never know. And that's not me wishing the worst or finding the worst case scenario. It's me presenting how people are now. And another thing, and I want to say Android does this as well. Any of my Android users can confirm this. When you scan a code, before you actually go to a link, it shows you a preview of what the link is. Read that link closely and make sure that it's a link that makes sense. And if you're not sure what that link is, I don't know if any of you know this. This is an added tip. I didn't give this in the video I posted on TikTok. If you can, take a screenshot when that web address comes up and send it to someone. Someone might be able to tell you what it's related to. And then you can say, oh, okay, yeah, that is there should be a okay website. Or no, don't mess with that site. That one is a little suspect. But I'm saying all that to say the expectations are to really use the platform for good. And it may go a step further where I might, and I've thought about this a couple times, do a session where I'm coloring, like adult coloring, on my tablet, but also just talk about life while I'm doing it. Because I've done it a few times while recording on live, and it's been cool. But to actually make it a whole process and do a podcast while I'm doing it, that would be fun too. So I'm considering that as an option as well. But like I said, the future right now is more so to just continue recording good shows and to continue sharing ways to become better people. A lot of my friends have told me numerous times that they love and adore the information that I've been able to share or give out for graphic, like not even graphic, just motivational and inspirational messages. And I've been doing my best to like show up in doing those, because at first, like, I mean, any of you who've been following me will truly relate to this. When I first did these videos, or when I first was doing those videos on TikTok, I didn't think anything of it. I just was like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to do like a quick minute, get a message out, boom, done, all good. Right before I was close to getting like my 3-minute opportunity, it became like a routine. And it became such a routine that I truly enjoyed sharing a message with someone to let them know, like, look, every day is not going to be rainbows and sunshine. So it's just something to really take heed of when working through the process of working through the stages of chaos or calm, and remembering how to like work, overcome your obstacles and your boundaries. It's just a thing. So I know I'm like almost near an hour. I'm not sure because I always forget when I add in the intro and the outro and then all the other things. It'll balloon the show in no time, but I'm going to give this in closing. Every day that you're alive is a blessing. Every day is not going to be a great day. Make the most of your time you have on earth. Because whether you realize it or not, the amount of time you live on this earth is nothing compared to the lifespan of the earth. This earth has lived through thousands of years and centuries and galaxies and whatever, how many terms you want to put it as. Like, we know that there were 2022 years minimum, or about to be 2022 years of what we know as earth and time and all that stuff. But New Year's, that's all new stuff. We don't know how far back time was being kept on, like, where things were before versus where they are now. Like, let's really take that into account. Like, your time on this earth is going to be your time on this earth. Make the most of it. Put yourself in positions to win. Oh, this is what I want to say too. I'm not saying that it has to be this amount, but this is a good number. 5. Have at minimum 5 people that are your legit circle or your legit friends. And when I say legit, I mean they can call you, you can call them, y'all can have a dialogue. It's a go. Everything's legit. You have that 5. Because having that 5 could be the 5 people that can help you evolve just as much as you can help them evolve. And if you don't look at that, like talking about it, then the $1 million question becomes, and this is very warning, this is going to be very triggering. Look at your circle. Look at the folks that you bang with. Look at the folks you hang with. Are they helping you? Are they elevating you? Or are they tearing you down? Or are they causing you to pull hair out of your head? Just think on that. I was going to hit that hour. It's been a blast. We're going to be back on these again. We'll likely be going back to the weekly format again, unless I kind of just don't want to push the shows too hard and kind of get topics to escalate accordingly. But in the meantime, in between time, I hope y'all be blessed, stay safe, mask up where needed. If you don't feel like the environment's worth dealing with, don't go. Don't force that, and that's another thing. Don't force yourself in places you don't belong. Don't put yourself at tables where you're not welcome. Because the places that you belong, the tables you deserve to sit at, folks are gonna welcome you with open arms. If you sit at tables and folks are like, I don't want to talk. Okay, cool. Let me get up. Maybe this is not the table for me. This might not be the group that want to see me evolve. Because once you find that group, that's your tribe. That's what that five is important about. That is your tribe. So just keep that in mind for today. All right. Love y'all. See y'all soon. Peace. Well, that was definitely a fun show. I hope you all learned something. I hope you all gained some information either about myself or about yourselves, because I know with the message that's passed along, it's usually meant to do a little bit of reflection, maybe some shadow work, not sure, all about your niche or lane. But I want to take time and utilize this section to share. Thank you to anyone who has taken time to listen to the show, to subscribe to the show, to leave any comment, to leave any feedback. If you want to leave any information, the pastbtpod@gmail.com. Podcasts are uploaded using Buzzsprout, probably one of my favorite platforms to be on. And to all my artists, if you know that you have a gift, share that gift with the rest of us, because we're waiting. Until next time, this is the Past signing out. Peace.